let's go see what's going on in your May tarot reading. I'm going to start with the past because you received the Wheel of Fortune, and my goodness, so many people in the signs for May received it, but not in the past. So you have a little bit of work to do in May. Things might have gone well with you in the recent past. Makes me think of the number 63, Ye Jing. It's called already 40, or completion of completion. Nothing is ever really complete. You get to a point and you're at an end point, but then you have to start again and do more. The wheel reminds you of the capricious nature of fate. Rota Fortuna, they called it in Latin. And the goddess Fortuna changed the position of the fates as the wheel spun. Considering it random, but is it really? And this is telling you that old roads lead to new forks in the road. And it unveils revolutionary new prospects. And now you've sought out these new prospects because down in the base of your spine for sourcing and urgings, you receive the Three of Wands and the Fool. The Three of Wands is about boldly going out in the world and finding your place, navigating the rough seas and sailing your ship into a safe harbor. It's about making your plans into a reality, and it's a card about motion and movement and going forward. And now you're the Fool. Spiritus, the breath or spirit of life, the itinerant wanderer that now wants to discover the great mysteries of life and how you fit into this with your small little microcosm of your world. For any Gemini, you're the nomadic wanderer of your mind. But you do have a capricious nature, just like the Wheel of Fortune has. And I don't think your adventures are aimless, but it's more for the experience of it. In Buddhism, time is not counted, but experienced. And I think that's what you want to do right now, is you want new experiences for new learning opportunities. And the Wheel from the past and the Three of Wands next to the Fool is giving you the runway for this. Now up in your sacrum and pelvic for awakening and arousing, you receive the Four of Pentacles. They call this the miser card, that you're not charitable and you're hanging on to money, but I don't look at it that way. It's like you're a Klingon and you're hanging on to something that doesn't serve you anymore. Maybe you have an attitude like it's play now and pay later, and not making the right decisions that you should be making right now. Because the clarification card is the Two of Cups. It's a card about decision, partnership, balance. It's also about relationships and the level of your relationship. And I think for some reason you're hanging on to something emotionally. It could be a love connection, or it could be a connection to things that just should not remain in your life. You've been hesitant to change. And up above in your solar plexus, you received the Fool again. It's reminding you that the Fool heralds refreshing new beginnings with freedom and optimism, but he also has a perilous naivety about him, and I think you've been a little naive about what's going on. Now the clarification card is a good card. It's the Ten of Pentacles. It's a card of retirement. And we're not all at the retirement age, so it's more of a card of just satisfaction and contentment. And maybe things are moving fast now and you're realizing that you really do have to change and take the rose-colored glasses off, because I pulled another clarification card and you received the Eight of Wands. The card of sudden change. It's also a card of messages and news. And maybe it's you saying to yourself, hey there, Kmart shopper, it's really time to change. Now in the center for the heart of the matter, and more of the subconscious you receive the Eight of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords. Now the Eight of Pentacles is about being skilled and talented, and Gemini is skilled and talented in many, many different ways. It's to the point where you're going from a student to a master, and you can teach other people. Now the Ace of Swords says, yeah, now it's time for a new sword beginning. Because you are swords. You are air. You're intellect. And all of a sudden you can use this sword to cut to the heart of the matter. Find the fork in the road for the revolutionary new prospects that the Wheel of Fortune in the past has offered. It's there, you just have to see it. And use your talents to move all of the plans that you're making with the Three of Wands forward. Now down in your throat for learning and communicating, teachings, receive the Seven of Wands and the Seven of Pentacles. 2 sevens. 7 can be a very spiritual number, or it can be the number of testing, putting you through various obstacles and tests. Now the Seven of Wands is about you succeeding, but you're on top of the hill and you're constantly defending yourself or defending your beliefs or defending your decisions. And the Seven of Pentacles is about almost to harvest. This is a tenuous time that you have to be vigilant in what you say and do, because the fruit of your labors and the abundance from them can be lost in one swooping motion. You know, the Ace of Swords in the heart of the matter is there, but it's only a promise. You're the one that has to do the hard work to make this a reality. But there's another new fork in the road up in the third eye for seeing and envisioning, because you received the King of Pentacles and the Lover's card. The King of Pentacles is saying that you've been running your life more like a CEO in a company. As with the Eight of Pentacles in the heart of the matter, it's saying, yeah, you've been a really talented person and you've made some wealth. And even here it's health and well-being. And the Lover's card is paralleling the Two of Cups across the reading in your pelvic and sacrum for spiritual awakening. It's connecting your conscious with your unconscious. You know what's going on, but the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing right now. Because up in the crown, for knowing and understanding, you receive the Tower. Something is collapsing. And the clarification card is the Eight of Swords, saying you're in some kind of bondage. But the Tower is saying that it's freeing you from this bondage. I don't think it was a fatal, total collapse. I just think there was some fault lines running under the ground and ruining the foundation of some things. The Lover's card and the Two of Cups is about making decisions. And we've already talked about the wheel in the past, so let's skip over to the future. And how strange. The main card for your future is, again, the Eight of Swords. It's saying to you that you've been your own worst enemy by holding yourself back. And that comes back to the Four of Pentacles. The Miser card, where you're hanging on to something for no reason. And now the clarification card I pulled for the future for the Eight of Swords is the Magician. Now it's saying you have all of the tools that you need to manifest the dreams and goals that you see in your eyes so that you can move forward in life. Wow. I mean, just in case you missed it, this is about love and relationships and emotions. The Two of Cups is just the minor arcana version of the Lover's card, and now this kind of boosts it up another octave with having these two cards together. Now the Lover's card and the Two of Cups is about decision making. And for the Two of Cups, the number 2 does mean decision, partnership, and balance. And we all want partnership and balance mixed together. But you have to make a good decision to have this partnership and balance. And there's always that omnipresent idea of temptation. You know, we talk about morals and values, but you have to back up a little bit and think about ethics. You have to have ethics before you have morals, and you have to have morals before you acquire values. And this comes in to what you've learned in the past and what your beliefs are now for you to make decisions in the future. And there is a duality going on here because there's grace versus temptation. But then you think about it too, and we've got the senses, and it's the unconscious versus the conscious, the physical versus the spiritual. This is also vice versus virtue. You know, there's even a divine and earthly component involved in this, and you have to make a lot of choices. And it's kind of funny that it's about impulsive desires, and then you have to make these level-headed choices. How does this work? Well, in reality, it really doesn't a lot of the time. You know, even Adam and Eve lost the value of God's word and were exiled from the Garden of Eden. And there was no return from that. Once you've lost your virginity, once you've lost your values, morals, and ethics, sometimes it's hard to regain yourself. You know, the devil didn't make us do anything. You have to be careful of our free will and choices that we have, because you can't ever underestimate the value of choice over impulse and instinctive impulsive desires. You know, we humans like to think that we're above the lower animals, but we forget that we are actually still animals from the mammal family. It really is hard to believe how many things are involved in just falling in love. But really the underlying story of all of this is understanding, respect, and harmony. Now here there's a constant duality going on here. And the Two of Cups is a little weaker card than the Lover's card is a major arcana card. And one says that it's less mature and maybe the relationship is not stable in the test of time. So here too is a duality where there's a weaker link in a relationship versus a stronger link in a relationship, and which one do you have? Now the World card ties this all up because it's a card about completion, completing a cycle. It was a long road traveled. And you can even think of this as a journey by God's design. But here you're planting new seeds for your unconscious and conscious self to balance your mind, body, and spirit. You're balancing your positive and negative forces. For you to be able to love somebody else, you have to love yourself. And it's saying you became well-rounded in this love, emotion, relationship triangle that's going on here. Or else you became a chameleon and you were able to match yourself with the surroundings to make yourself successful. Whatever it is, the World card is saying you're coming to the end of a journey, and it symbolizes that you've developed, fulfilled, achieved, and completed. And now that lessons have been learned, it's time to move on to new challenges. Now Saturn oversees the World card, and the word Saturn means to sow. So it represents the harvest of life. Now I tossed the dice, and you received Pisces, the North Node, and the 5th house. The North and South lunar nodes are mathematical points that take into account the relationships between the Sun, Moon, and the Earth. The North Node of the Moon can loosely be interpreted as a purpose or destiny of your life. And all eclipses occur near the lunar nodes where the Moon's path crosses the Sun's path in the sky. And just as in a side piece of information, right now the North Node has just gone into Leo. Now the North Node in the 5th house indicates that you're melting into the backdrop as to not draw attention to yourself. But when you do that, you lose your personal, unique identity. And you just become another face in the crowd. You can easily detach yourself and try to avoid risk-taking and stay in the safe zone. And you really worry about what other people think, but it's about time for you to say the hell with what other people think. And you have to strike out on your own to find your own life path. You're looking for an inner balance and happiness that's attained through self-confidence. You know, sometimes you can be anal retentive and criticize too much and ignore the delight of living. You're saying, oh, that's real bad, and saying, wow, did you see that sunset? You know, and your critiques flow to yourself, and you start doing some self-flagellation, self-punishment. And this is because of the North Node in the 5th house. You have to start becoming more flexible, like a small palm tree in the wind. Because as you get older, these beliefs of yours and criticism can actually break things up. And if you're like the palm tree, as it grows older, it doesn't break, it just bends. And now it's time to just start being yourself and not worrying about what other people think. If they don't like it, you know what they can do with it. Now, Pisces in the 5th house puts you in dreamland. And you need to get in touch with reality. Hello, Earth. You know, ground control to Major Tom. You might not be able to put your finger on what attracts you to a certain person. But it doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, does it? But this Pisces in the 5th house thing is saying to take your rose-colored glasses off, because one morning you might wake up next to Genghis Khan, or even worse, that little twerp Napoleon. Or even Rasputin. And then for the guys, it could be Lilith or some soulless human Barbie. So make sure whatever choices you make in love and relationships, in the end, doesn't cast you into disappointment. And you know, having the 2 of Cups and the Lover's card is like taking a gradual step. The 2 of Cups is the baby steps. And the Lover's card is then more like going to graduate school. And it means that you should have self-awareness. Self-awareness of your strengths and weaknesses, of your thoughts and beliefs, and of your motives and emotions. Here we are, we're back to duality again. And there's one more lesson of duality, and that's yin and yang. You know, there's always a seed of good and bad, and a seed of bad and good. And you have to find a balance between that with your love and emotions. And I wish you acceptance, peace, and happiness.